Welcome to the Kingdompreneur Life Podcast with your hosts, Doreen and Pat Martin.
Let's talk a little bit about adrenal fatigue, because that's a big one. I know that I deal with or have dealt with, and then a lot of my clients deal with adrenal fatigue and how that all correlates with your hormones and your thyroid and everything. Can you touch a little bit on that? And have you seen that increase, or maybe it's always been around, but now we just have a label for it?
Yeah, I think it's always been around, and there are some people that debunk adrenal fatigue, but we see it in test results. When you test your adrenal function, you collect saliva 4 times a day, morning, noon, evening, bedtime. That looks at the diurnal curve of cortisol, the master stress hormone, and that the adrenals produce. And that hormone is absolutely essential to life. You know, when people have like Vietnam vets, or remember President Kennedy, he had Addison's disease. His adrenals had been knocked out during his wartime experience, and he had to take cortisone treatments to replenish, because cortisol has to be produced throughout the day in the right amount to get you out of bed in the first place, get you going for your day, and then should gradually drop throughout the day to the lowest point at night for calming and sleep. In the meantime, these adrenals, these little tiny pyramids that sit on top of the kidneys, they're like bellows. They're pumping out cortisol in response to the demand that your body has for breaking down nutrients into fuel, for your energy, for your ability to, stay calm in the middle of, take stress in stride. So you're in traffic and you don't have a meltdown. You turn on the radio and you start singing instead of freaking out. But it's bigger than that. It is about how sugars are broken down. The adrenals regulate blood sugar, insulin, fat storage, our sleep-wake cycle. It's huge, and our immunities against disease, and they mount our stress response. And when you're talking about stress is really anything that the body has to respond to. So it can be just getting up in the morning and having to get dressed and make breakfast and get your kids to school and all of that. And if stress becomes totally overwhelming, so the body doesn't really know if you had a divorce or you just ate a bag of donuts. It just has to make cortisol to deal with that onslaught of sugar or negative stress in your body. And if it's constant and unrelenting, you won't see that lovely curve high to low at night. You'll see low in the morning, jacked up like this, back and forth, up at night, and people will look at this and say, that's a picture of my life. That's how I am. I can't get out of bed in the morning. I'm tired all the time, and I can't sleep at night. And I'm gaining weight around my belly. And oh, by the way, that's a total stress response. The body will put fat in the abdomen. That's its favorite place to break down sugar and put it in the abdomen if you're under stress, because it just senses the stress response is out of control. We're going to pack some extra fuel in there in case she's running from a tsunami. The body doesn't quite know. It's just going to put some extra fat on you. So that belly fat that hangs around is always a clear sign of stress, too much stress, uncontrolled stress, and the adrenals not meeting the demand. Because what happens is they will pump and pump and pump for you, and you'll see people real high, flatlined, or wobbling all over the place, spikes and dips. And then over time, the adrenals are just flatlined. They'll be really, really low, and people are just bumping along the bottom. And that's how it's a perfect reflection of how people feel: burned out, exhausted. Depending on where cortisol is, if it's really high, then you're going to be anxious and irritable and impatient. You're not going to be sleeping at night. You're going to feel tired and wired. If you're going to be gaining weight in the abdomen, because the body's trying to store all that excess cortisol and blood sugar as a result. If it's low, you're going to be tired all the time. You're going to be getting sick easily and not bouncing back as fast as you'd like to. You're going to be depressed and moody and not be able to think clearly. You might have allergies and asthma. You may have chemical sensitivities where you go in a shop and someone sprays perfume on you and you feel sick. You may not have an appetite. You may not have any tolerance for exercise. You just are exhausted after exercise or just don't feel like it. And your libido suffers. And then to answer the question in more detail, as you said, cortisol, if the adrenals aren't working properly, the thyroid's not working properly. All of these things they're like bivalves. They work together. And if one is down, you got to think seesaw effect. One is down, the other's up, and somehow we're out of balance. But the thyroid is absolutely affected by cortisol imbalances and tired adrenals. So we see over time, the adrenals pump and pump for you, the trusty little, mighty little glands bellowing and trying to help you. But after a while, they can't keep up and they get exhausted. And that's adrenal fatigue. And you can see it in the curve when you test. You can see how we have a normal pattern, and we compare your pattern against the normal pattern. And that can be a shock to people. Some people will say to me, oh, I thought my cortisols would really be high because I have such a high stress job, or I have 2 kids and I'm taking care of my mother and I work all day. But actually, you'll see their adrenals are flatlined because they're not keeping up. They can't, so when they get exhausted and burn out, so do we. And that becomes a time when the adrenals have to be nourished. They need extra care and feeding. And just to make a final point on that, not that you couldn't talk about that the whole time, the adrenal glands have to take over at menopause, all hormone production. So they have to pick up the slack from the ovaries. So think about it. If you're really under stress, you're not ovulating and making progesterone anymore. And progesterone, by the way, is the raw material from which the adrenals make cortisol. So you're not ovulating, no progesterone. You got a lot of stress in your life. Now you're in menopause. The adrenals have to do all those jobs they had to do before, and now they have to make hormone for you too. So it becomes, it's a big issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was like 2 years ago, I know that I had struggled with adrenal fatigue. Not when I came to see you, I was okay. But, the pressure of always having the gas pedal just always.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. That my body just kind of like gave out. And I was like, just like you said, I got sick really easily. I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, it was like, it almost felt like I was suffering with like a depression. Because of the lack of like energy that I had, like couldn't work out, so I had to really dial back, assess my life, put in some new boundaries, really start practicing self-care, and not taking care of everybody else. Like I got to take care of me. And of course, feeding my body properly. I felt I was feeding my body properly, but really wasn't taking time even in that process to sit down and enjoy the meal and be present with the meal, that is so important. Just like, okay, got to get on to the next thing, and I think that fast society, eating in the car, like, did I eat that? Like, I don't even remember. Did I eat that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because you're not even present, because your mind is so somewhere else of what you got to do and what you got to get done. And I think a lot of women live in that space because we've got so many hats that we've got to wear, right? We
are notorious. We're notorious for taking care of everybody else but ourselves, and for being brilliant multitaskers and doing it all, but not being able to know how to take our foot off the gas, turn the off switch. We're on our cell phones and iPads in bed. That's another real no-no, because the blue light from those gizmos is interrupting the production of melatonin. And so when melatonin should be high at night. It's the master sleep hormone. If it's down, cortisol spikes during the night, and then we're waking up.
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock in the morning. How many people do you know that are waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't get back to sleep, or they can't get to sleep in the first place? This is all about, and also when there's a huge demand upon the body for cortisol and the adrenals are tired, they'll go around stealing other hormone to try to make, they'll steal from our DHEA or our progesterone to make more adrenal hormone. Cortisol is catabolic. It starts breaking things down. It'll steal nutrient from the bone, from the muscle tissue, whatever it takes to get enough cortisol on board to keep us going. And at a certain point, it can get to be a really serious problem over time, and years and years and years of this kind of. In fact, I just consulted with a woman yesterday. She had a really typical story, but she lives in Manhattan. She's a kindergarten teacher. She's been teaching under 5-year-olds for 20 years. And she said demanding parents and under 5-year-olds and commuting in Manhattan. And one day, just recently, she was doing something on the whiteboard and she said she had a full-blown panic attack. And she just couldn't handle it anymore. So she's now taking a leave of absence. She said she is so anxious, she can't even go into a store. So it's just been escalating. This is the kind of, she can't do the normal things she used to do. She's neurotic about everything. And her adrenals, it showed up in the testing very clearly. They were shot. And so it's,
I can relate. I can relate to the whole, like when I was back then, anxiety and going on a plane, I had to sit in a certain row, or like I'd have a panic attack, like all of that. And it's like, where did this come from? Like I was fine all the way up until my 40s. And then my 40s, it's just like the body was like, oh no, you've abused it for too long. Now we're shutting down certain things. And
yeah. The body in its wisdom, it tries to message you and say, can't do this anymore. We're gonna make you take to your bed for a while until you get it. And you're right. The boundaries, they say on the plane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you attempt to help anybody else. That's pretty good advice. Yes. But it's not easy to do. I mean, I ask people, so what are the things you love to do? Oh, make a list of the 10 things you love to do. That's kind of easy. I love to sing. I love to go to the theater. I love to go camping. I do this, that, and the other. And then when's the last time you did any of those things? That's the big aha moment that, wow, it's been months since I went did any scrapbooking, or I haven't played the piano. I haven't even turned on any music. One woman told me she hadn't smiled in 2 years.
Wow.
Said, this kind of thing. And I remember talking to a woman, trying to guide her through this, and she took up singing lessons again. So it improved her breathing, her posture, her mood, she was oxygenating. Just that simple anti-stress, stress management technique she was a changed person with a little bit of adrenal support and some hormonal balancing. You put it all together. It's not just one thing. It's a multitude of things that we need to do. Holistic.
Yes. Okay. So we're coming to the top of the hour. So let's just wind down and give some of the women some basic things. Like we started to touch on that, or you just started to touch on that. Like, it's not just taking bioidentical hormones and keep living that drive life.
That's not going to,
Yeah. It's a holistic approach. Even I tell my clients with food, it's like, you can eat 100% perfect, but if we don't manage your spirituality, exercise, things, self-care, if we don't manage all of that and put some systems in place for you that you can start living your life and being present to your life, it doesn't matter how good you eat. So I'm sure it's the same way. It doesn't matter if you're taking all these bioidenticals and creams and if you're not putting into place some practices that you need to start taking some self-care, then it's all for nothing. So talk about some things that you tell your patients besides, the bioidentical hormones and hormone testing and thyroid and adrenals and all that. What are some basic things that we can give the ladies tonight that they can start to implement today before they come and see you, before they come and see me? Let's just give them some things that you feel would help them to start to balance.
Well, okay. There's so many things. One of them would be, making sure that, and I mentioned it earlier, but not taking the cell phone and the iPad to bed with you. That needs to be banished from the bedroom, because that is really very much wreaking havoc on the sleep-wake cycle. As I mentioned, that blue light goes to the pineal gland and blocks melatonin production. Cortisol goes up, you wake up in the night. And guess what happens when that happens? Appetite hormones that operate on the same sleep-wake cycle are then disrupted. So the two appetite hormones we've heard of, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone, tells you you're hungry. Leptin's the hormone that tells you you're full, the satiety hormone. When you have cortisol coursing through your body during the night because you were activating yourself too late, those appetite hormones become reversed. So now the hunger hormone goes up and tells you you're hungry all the time because the satiety hormone has plummeted. So now you have cravings and you're hungry and you're thinking, and you're up in the night looking in the refrigerator for something to eat.
Right.
And again, that would be, So I would say that's definitely one thing. Another thing is to have a nice little protein snack before bed, not going to bed hungry, not having a dessert late at night or anything sweet. That's where we get into wine. You know, wine, we all love our wine, but
Yes.
not right before bed, ladies, because it's just going to, that there's natural sugars in wine. They're going to cause a blood sugar drop in the middle of the night, which is a stress response, right? Cortisol then goes up because your blood sugar just dropped, that stress, cortisol spikes, and now we're awake. So a good, having wine with food, of course, not having sweets at night, a good protein snack, maybe some almonds or some kind of happy cashew cheese or, some sort of nice protein snack. Doesn't have to be much, but just something to stabilize those blood sugars. So that before bed, avoiding the blue light stuff. One of the big things, sorry, I'm getting some kind of a.
No problem. I'll take a drink too while you're drinking.
One of the, I'd say, I have a cup here that says Starbucks coffee, but I met my mother, so that's her fault. I have matcha tea in here, which may have
Love
caffeine, but it's really important to avoid too much caffeine. I've talked to too many people who are, when you see that diurnal curve, it's real low in the morning, you just dragged yourself out of bed and you don't want to gain weight, so you have a coffee in the morning and you don't eat until 2:00 and you have several cups of coffee once you get to work, and maybe you have something sweet. That combination of caffeine and sweets is a big thing to avoid. That's really just creating horrible imbalances and bringing the cortisol levels into dominance. And, when those levels are up, all the other hormones are down, which is why we have stress hormones trump everything. So that's why we have the issues that we have when we're running on, when we're stress monkeys. The other really important thing is to avoid xenoestrogens. Do you know that word?
Yes.
So many people aren't aware of the word xenoestrogen. So xeno means foreign, unnatural to the body. There are hormones, there are chemicals in the environment that act like hormones. So they're imposters. They're xenoestrogen. They act like an estrogen, like a growth hormone. Back to when I was saying when a synthetic hormone jams open the door to the cell and takes over and kicks the normal hormone out, that's a xeno. So not only is it an HRT and birth control pills, but xenos are those foods that are shot up with growth hormones. So the meat and dairy industry are really good at injecting their cattle, beef and dairy cattle, with growth hormone to make them grow fat faster, to make them produce milk faster. What happens, a cow that grows fat faster, and we eat that cow, we grow fat faster. So these synthetic hormones they're in the meat, the dairy. It's very, very important when you shop, you want to look at the label. It should say these animals were raised without hormones. It's not good enough for it to say no added hormones. That's not good enough. It needs to say they were raised without hormones. The milk carton should say happy cows, no RBST. The egg carton, open the carton and see our hens are free range. They were raised without hormones or antibiotics. All of that with chicken, and then it goes on. It's not just what you eat, it's what you breathe in. So if you're painting, paint fumes, dry cleaner fumes, all the sprays, the fragrance sprays we use, the cleaners we use, if they're toxic, if they're loaded with ingredients you can't even pronounce, swap them out. We're very lucky now. We have Whole Foods, we have all kinds of health food stores. There's every kind of alternative.
Target has
even.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely important to do the best you can. Go right now into the cupboards and take everything out that Comet. I used to love Comet. It worked so well. Oh my God. I'm breathing that stuff in when I shake it in the tub and it's loaded. And what is it doing? It's going into my body. It's acting like an estrogen. It's going into the cells of my body and saying, get out of there, natural estrogen. I'm in charge now. And it takes over. These things take over. So you got to watch what you inhale. Sometimes we can't avoid that, but we have to make every chance we get to get rid of those things. Also, Think Dirty is a great website where you can, or the Environmental Working Group, you can go on their website and see which cosmetics are loaded with toxins and which are not. By the way, the FDA does not regulate cosmetics, so we women are using all kinds of stuff on our faces, face creams and makeup and all that may be loaded with toxins that act like hormones. So it's really good to get onto the environmentalworkinggroup.org's website and start to learn which are, I mean, you can go to a Pharmaca or a Whole Foods and know that these are non-toxic. Nail polishes, nail polish remover, it goes on and on. Just find the healthy alternative. That's one of the most important things. Another thing I'd say is swapping to glass and ceramic when you microwave your food. Heating your food in any kind of plastic is going to leach those polycarbons that also act like those growth hormones and get into the cells and do their trouble, do their damage.
Mm-hmm.
So always microwaving, heating, and storing hot food in glass or ceramic or BPA free. I really prefer glass or ceramic.
Me too.
Also drinking, I think a lot of women are onto this, but drinking out of BPA free or stainless steel water bottles. The Swell water bottle is Swell.
Yes.
Because you know how many times you drink out of one of those plastic water bottles that's in the front seat of your car getting hot in the heat, and then it's leaching all these polycarbons. So, you know, even if you do dry cleaning, look for a green dry cleaner. If you must have your new carpets in your house, stay away for a few days until the off-gassing stops. Look for curtains that don't have phthalates in them. Children's toys that have, you know, the plastic softeners are also. So it's a real education to go. These things are also called endocrine disruptors because of the disruption they cause. So there's a huge amount of information around about that. And that's, I'd say, is a really important thing. This is all besides. And we started with talking about bioidentical hormones, and that's one of the biggest ways you're getting rid of these xenos, these synthetics that are unnatural to our bodies. So there's and making time for you, like you said, the boundaries. You know, how do we learn to say no? The judicious use of the word no. I remember talking to a woman who was a full-time accountant, had her elderly mother living with her, and was raising her daughter's children. And she couldn't say no. She was talking about how they put crayon all over her new tabletop, and she was so upset. And how her daughter dropped off the kids any old time. It's like perfect time to set boundaries. I'll take the grandkids Tuesday between 4 and, you know, whatever, but not on Thursday, Friday. It's just easy. You have to start saying, this is my time. And it's hard for women, but you did it. How did you do it?
You got to do it without feeling guilty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I had to have a conversation with my family. Like, okay, mom's been running on fumes, and now you're going to see a change because mom's going to start taking care of her, but I'll be a better mom and a better wife if I start taking care of myself, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, even being married, my husband's a go type of person. He'll go 7 days a week. And I had to learn to say, you know what, you go. I can't go. I need to stay home. I need
right now. I'm not. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really important to make that list of the things you love to do, and then build that back into your me time. And some of it should be creative. You know, the flow that comes through our hands when we paint a picture or when we sing and express ourselves and breathe. That is a tension releaser. That releases tension held in the body. So that kind of creative impulses, indulge them, and you know, do the kinds of exercise, especially if you have tired adrenals. When people test and their adrenals are shot, you have to say to them, okay, dial back on the hyper-intensive performance. A lot of gals will say to me, I'm exercising every day. Why can't I lose weight? Then it turns out they're spinning 3 times a day.
The CrossFit. Killing them.
And they don't realize this is just absolutely taxing your adrenals. Your body is saying, oh my God, there's stress big time here. Let's hang on to some fat. And these women are working harder and harder, and they're gaining and not losing. So dialing back and alternating exercise with those kinds of things that release tension held in the muscles. We hold tension in our muscles. If we're holding tension in our muscles, our cortisol is up, right? And our adrenals are getting tired, and we're you know, all those imbalances are coming home to roost. So yoga, swimming, walking, biking, that kind of thing. And also just making time to be sort of unbusy, you know, just Deliberately not being busy. We have this thing that we always have. So what have you been doing? You feel like you have to be doing something all the time. This word hustle is out there all the time. Hustling. We're all hustling, and people saying, I'll sleep when I die. Well, you may die sooner than you think, and you'll be sleeping a lot longer than you thought. Because really, this is the scourge of our society. We are expected to be on all the time. So boundaries may be, no matter how much you love your job, if your boss is emailing you at 3 a.m. or tweeting, your phone is in the other room, and maybe it's even turned off after 8 o'clock. I can tell you, turning off the phone is psychologically really nice. It just calms you down immediately. My phone is off. They can't get to me.
Yes. I used to charge my phone at night in the bedroom. And when I reassess my life, I take it now because I work from home. So I put it in my office in the house, and that's where it stays. Like 5 o'clock, plug it in, and I'm out of the office, back in the regular part of the house, and that phone is not with me. I also tell my clients too, when they sign up for coaching with me, and I don't know if you do this as well, these are the days that I work, and these are the hours that I work. And this is, if you text me or email me after that time, you'll get a response usually within 24. I let them know, I set up their expectations that I'm not at their beck and call, 24/7. This is, because I used to be at their beck and call 24/7.
There are people that will abuse that and be texting you on a Sunday at 7 a.m, and it's sort of like, no, that creates a lot of anxiety. And so, yeah, that's a really important. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick, we were talking about acne. You're saying, what are the things to do? One of the things with a lot of gals that have acne also have excess facial hair or body hair. They may have abdominal fat and irregular periods and fertility issues. That's often called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Acne goes with that big time. And many of those people are eating too many carbs and too much sugar. And out of interest, carbs and sugar obviously raise cortisol, which has to regulate blood sugar, which raises insulin. And insulin not only is a fat storage hormone, it also causes the ovaries to overproduce androgens like testosterone. And that's where we get these breakouts. Lots of acne, oily skin, even, men and women share all the same hormones. Men have a lot more testosterone than we do. So they have beards, don't they? And they have heavier bones and muscles. Well, women who are churning out testosterones in their ovaries because they've had a junk food diet, often that can be is a big reason. So watch the carbs and the sugars. That goes without saying, but even just getting into learning about low glycemic foods, fruits and vegetables, eating cruciferous vegetables like kale and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, and what are some of the others? Broccoli. They actually help to metabolize excess accumulated hormones and toxic xenos. They help to actually metabolize them properly down the proper pathways and excrete them from the body so they don't accumulate and cause havoc. So, cruciferous vegetables, avoiding sugar and carbs, cutting way back on caffeine, judicious use of wine, drink at happy hour. If you're going to meet your friends, go to happy hour. That's a good idea because it's earlier in the afternoon and then you can get some good nutrition in afterwards. So there's so many things to say.
I know. We could go on and on for hours.
Yeah.
And but you have given us so much value and so much information. I love it. I love that we are empowering women to take control of their health, not to be a victim to the big pharmas, right? But take control of your health. Let's give your website out again. It is yourhormonebalance.com. I want to encourage everybody who's listening that has any type of questions regarding thyroid, hormones, adrenals. This woman can help you balance all of that out. She's got the tests that you can order right from her website. She does counseling.
And they're on a special right now, by the way, until the end of today, because it was a cyber special my daughter set up. So they're $100 off until 11:59 tonight.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So this woman knows her stuff. If you have not picked up already just from this little masterclass that we did, She is amazing. I cannot recommend her enough. I cannot say enough great things about her. She is holistic. She will dial in. She will help you. She'll help you understand. I love how you just explain everything too. You make it so easy for us women to understand.
I hope so.
Such a complicated, yes, you do. Make it, it's so complicated sometimes to understand, but you make it super easy for us to digest and to understand what's going on in our bodies. So thank you so much for this interview. I really, really appreciate all the value that you gave today, and we'll talk again soon.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Good fun.
It was. Okay. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Kingdompreneur Life podcast. Don't forget to join us next week for another inspiring episode. We'd love for you to head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. We love reading all your comments. You can also connect with us on our websites. Pat is CoachPatMartin.com, just like it sounds, CoachPatMartin.com. And Doreen is found at RawDoreen.com. That's RAWDOREEN.com. You can download your free gift that will help you live life uncluttered and rich with purpose.